Well, it's another one of those cases where I sat down in front of my easel and started painting, and I forgot to turn the camera on. And that's why you have a mostly painted front wall of a shed here. And that I just ignored you while I was painting it. Not very nice, eh? Like, just not a nice guy. Anyway, I finally remembered and thought I would take you along at least while I get this finished. So on this front wall, I've gone along and I've used cadmium red on this wall, no alizarin crimson. Cadmium red and cobalt blue in this shadow underneath the eave, the shadow that's cast on the wall. This also is cadmium red medium and cobalt blue, and a hint of white. And I've even touched it with yellow ochre as we move this way. Then gradually done away with the cobalt blue completely. No, almost completely. Until we got to about here, and then we've done away with the cobalt blue. There it's just cad red and yellow ochre with the odd hint of cad red and cad yellow deep. Here we're at simply cad red and cad yellow deep for the most part. Now there's probably a hint of cobalt blue in there too. We just use all cadmiums in one area. The whole thing glows, and you know it's a little over the top at that point. And I'm not a fan of that. I'm also not a fan of this hole that I put in the wall. I don't want too many vertical breaks in the wall. I laid them in with the brush and some dark paint because I thought, well, you know, I have the option then to do that, right? It turned out I just don't want it. So we'll get rid of it. I don't mind a bit of a hole at the bottom though. You know, the rats have to be allowed to get in and out. It's a free country after all. Or, oh, sorry. It used to be a free country. I think that'll do. Yeah, just a bit of a rat chewed hole. And this one too. It's going. It's just a little too much for me. Only this one I'll take out at the bottom and maybe leave a hint on top, and that's about it. Got a bit of debris in there. We'll get rid of that. Excuse me, my voice wants to leave me again. All right. Come over this way a little bit. Just at the bottom, just at the bottom. You know, kind of like that shadow to come in at an angle. So our shadow across the roof sort of does this in general. And then the rest is gradually becoming sunlight. I think that works. One more little stroke here. Putting on highlights with Cad Red Medium. No, yeah, Cad Red Medium and Cad Yellow Deep. I'm trying to avoid becoming too weak with my strokes, but not so strong that I don't want too hard a line there either. Maybe I shouldn't worry too much about it. Yeah, that's pretty. That line's a bit hard. So we'll just break it a little bit. That's enough. Okay, I think that's our front wall. I think I'll leave these two in. That seems to work for me okay. Yeah. All right. Okay, now I'm going to take a little break and I'm going to sit back and have a look at that. And I think I've mentioned this before. I like to leave those open doors till the end before, to decide what the content's going to be in there. I don't see any reasons to do any differently on this one, so it'll be the mystery door. Oh boy, my voice is really taking a bit of a hit here. So much for singing. It's okay. Nobody wants to hear that anyway. All right, let's get on to something else now. Well, forgive the pun, but as you know, making a painting is not a set of black and white decisions. The painting is a progression, and as you work on one area, another area shows itself ready for improvement. So let's hope that's the direction that this is going. So far I like it. Every time that I finish a clip of a video or finish a video, I will say, I like that, I'm happy with it, I'm going to consider it done. Almost never is it actually done. Because over the ensuing hours or days, I'll think to myself, well, maybe I should do this or that. So as you can see, I've put a little more life in the roof here, a little more light on the roof in places. I got rid of this little detail. No, it's just too much of a detail. Let's keep it simple, because when I back up and consider the size of the canvas, again, I fall into that trap of, oh boy, I'm sitting 18 inches from the canvas, and I like this idea, and I like that idea, and I do all these little things. And then I stand up, back up and look at it, and it's a nuisance, It weakens the whole... It takes away from that idea that the sum of its parts... how does that go again? The painting is greater than the sum of its parts. And if the sum of its parts are weak parts, the painting will become weak. These little things become the weakest link in the chain. That's why I got rid of some of these lines here. That's why I straightened this out, got rid of these little finagling things that I had here. So, keeping it simple. I'm gonna dip into this grass in the foreground here now. And I am going to have a lot of light on that grass, but I'm going to start with lower value, lower chroma colors, because that is just a smart thing to do. Now I'm not going to go super low, but I'm mixing up just a bit of yellow ochre, staying away from the cadmiums for the moment. I think that'll do. Don't want that knife loaded very much at all. I don't really even want sharp lines for the most part, because it's grass, you know, this tree's going to cut across here, so I don't mind a sharp line there, but aside from that, I do want to be careful. Okay, that's so where this paint sits right against the shed. Notice how I'm running my knife like this and not like this. If I run it like this, I'll end up with sharp knives or with sharp lines, and I'll end up with most likely more paint applied, or rather no, not more paint applied, but sharper lines. I don't want to do that. I want to be careful. A little bit of that's okay, but just being sort of a bit touchy-feely about this. Okay, now I'm doing it. So intuitive, you know, some of this stuff. And you really do have to micromanage some areas. Okay. Now we have this light from above that's shining onto this grass. Back here below the shaded stuff, I didn't want it too light. It's going to get lighter, but I wanted to start with a bit darker. So that's all fine and dandy, but I'm still... See, I can afford to get stronger now. Oops. Fussy, 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 fussy. Sorry, when I paint and I talk at the same time, I don't make a lot of sense. But you knew that already, I'm sure. Okay. A little yellow ochre now. A little bit more strength, you know? Straight yellow ochre. No raw umber or anything. Okay. Yellow ochre just touched by white. Now I don't mind going with some vertical strokes because they tend to look stronger on the canvas, you know. These are more smeary, these are more direct. If I can, I will always vote for more direct. Well, a combination, obviously, as you can see. And again, I already know my strokes right now are going to be too weak. I'm going to have to go over them with more strength. I know that because when I back up and look at this, I'm going to say to myself, probably could have been stronger here, probably stronger there. I guess the real answer is it's just a bit of experience, and you find out pretty quickly that it's sure easier to go weak than it is to go strong. Yeah. See, I'm already too weak against the base of that wall. So I'm going to go to straight yellow ochre and a bit of white now over what I had. Adding a touch of cad yellow deep. It's fine. I didn't want to do it to begin with. You know, as I said, I set up a safety net for myself here. A little bit of insurance, you know? Yeah, that looks a little bit better. We definitely want this grassy area in the foreground to appear strong enough. Okay. I can afford to do that now, I think. Don't forget, our light is coming from the left and above. But already that has a, you know, it has a little bit of a curve dipping into the darker cabin. Almost immediately the light's shining here. I think it works. And after saying that, I might have gone too strong, but it's okay. What I do, I'll take the texture off it, because if I need to tone it down, I can tone it down. Oops. Took too much away. Don't do it, I'm doing okay. I'm being very weak now with my paint. Okay. Now I'm going to leave that spot. And squeeze a little bit of cad yellow pale onto my easel. Okay, I've done that. Now we're into cad yellow pale and a little bit of burnt sienna. That's a lot of light. That's a lot of light right there. Maybe I should consider changing knives to my thicker one again, because now I'm getting into more movement. Okay. I don't want to fall into the trap of getting too weak, and I sense that it's beginning to happen, so we'll just take a break. Okay, well, you know, I think I'd like to just drop the values a little bit here. Just gradually. You know, I don't want hard lines in the distance, because this is going to be a very hard line against this tree. So I'm just going to take it down a notch. I kind of like to have, for the sake of having a hard line here, you know, really showing the dramatic difference between this dark tree and the field behind it. I'm going to go a little bit more to the greens. I'm mixing up some ultramarine blue and burnt sienna and more yellow ochre. I want to keep it cold at this point, or colder. Hard lines. I'd like some drama here. Visual drama. Not the kind that makes you cry, you know what I mean. And we'll come down into this sort of swale. Using that color. Yeah, you know, we'll add a bit of white to that. As you can see, my knife strokes are starting to look like house paint. I don't want that. I'm not going to raise the chroma, I'm not going to warm it up, I'm just going to raise the value a little bit. Okay, I think that's going to do the job. And if I keep playing over it, I'll end up losing bits of the underpainting, you know, bits of the wash, and I kind of like to leave that effect a little bit. It just keeps a nice texture there, you know. So what I'm going to do is again, you know, scrape off the edges, because I'm not sure I'm going to do any more on this today. And I don't want a strong ridges of paint. In certain spots. So I'll very carefully do that. Okay, I know that's my line, so I'm going to leave that alone. Some of this I'm going to have to feather, you know, from one color into another, or from one value into another for that matter. But I like this, you know, going into the greens, I think that it's quite likely that I'm going to, sorry, I'll actually turn and face you like a gentleman, the gentleman that I am. I'm likely going to go into these warmer greens and actually into the yellows. You know how so much of the background here is, well, we have a very red shed. And then we have a lot of purples and oranges in the background, leaning towards the reds. I think that maybe for these these trees in the foreground, I'll lean in the direction of a sort of greenish, yeah, greenish, but still fall colors, you know, going more into cad yellow pale, yellow ochre, burnt sienna, a little bit of ultramarine blue, maybe yellow ochre, or no, maybe cobalt blue, probably not. Cobalt blue is very green when you mix it in with those yellows. And maybe cad yellow deep, maybe some raw umber, you know, just more going in the general tone of these colors rather than these colors, because I want them to stand out. They have to have some strength. Anyway, it's going to be a mix of a bunch of things. I'm liking it so far. If we don't talk to you sooner, we'll talk to you later. Okay, let's get some foreground in here. Whoops, that's a bit lighter than I expected, which is okay. I've gone to a little more ultramarine blue here and yellow ochre. So we're going a bit greenish, but it's warm green. Still putting a little bit of burnt sienna in there. I don't want to go too dark just yet. I want this to be more in the shadow than this area. That would be my preference. Sort of a swale. Keeping the variety of colors going. You'll notice I'm doing it fairly quickly, but I'm really sort of planning my strokes. I like to leave a little bit of this wash showing through. It doesn't always work out because, I constantly make mistakes that I want to correct, and then I end up putting a little more paint, and sometimes eventually those little washed in areas get completely covered, which I don't worry about. It's fine. It's not a problem. Okay, light, a little more light here. I think we'll fade off a little bit as we go that way. Okay, let me just change knives here. Let me fill in our little seam. Let those two blend. Okay, a touch of cad yellow pale and a little bit of burnt sienna and a bit of white. Okay, back down to this area. Carve along with these rocks using, switching to the little knife again. For the sake of more control, that's all. Okay. No. I don't want a little bump in there. I just want it to, I think I would prefer it just to simply do that. Okay, I'm going to put add a little more ultramarine blue to that and a little bit of burnt sienna, a little bit of white. I like this grayish green that I've got here, so I'm just going to try to replicate that. And break this area up with a bit of that. No. Touch it with the larger knife. I like the bigger strokes more. Okay. A little more blue here. Ultramarine blue and a little more burnt sienna. And a little more white. This is too smooth right here. Maybe I'm worrying too much. Maybe that's what it is. I'm going to put a couple strokes of straight yellow ochre in there. That seems to work. Okay. Okay, we'll leave it at that for the moment. I'll back the camera up and we'll have a peek. Excuse the jiggling again, if you don't mind. And let's see here. Come on, camera. There we go. Gotta raise it up to try to avoid glare. Okay. So, that's a little bit. It's a little bit like, you know, I had all this other stuff. I could have worked in the trees. I could have gone various areas. But this is still kind of roughly, excluding my trunks, working my way forward. It's a little bit like, this is the most fun part of the painting right now. It's the most rewarding, you know. So in a sense, I'm eating my chocolate cake before my broccoli is done. That's okay. It's fun. And now I have this reference. I have my highest chromas and I have my highest values in place on the painting. So I always have that to use as a reference when I'm working in other areas on the painting. Something to compare to. It's much easier to have that than to work around it, not being 100% sure. Yeah, what your highest values and highest drama and highest colors are going to be, or your strongest colors are going to be. So, anyway, that's coming. We will talk to you soon.